Governor Gavin Newsom is now blocking $1 billion and rejecting every local plan. ABC.
This is during the governorship of Gavin Newsom. We have seen a 24% increase in homelessness. The population is now over 187,000 people, and roughly half of all unsheltered homeless in the United States are in California.
Yeah, to give you some context for that, those LA apartments I showed you, the cost for the city to acquire those was about $460,000 per unit.
Spending billions of billions, homelessness is getting worse, zero accountability. The governor even vetoed last year a bipartisan bill that would have allowed for greater transparency and accountability when it comes to homelessness spending.
On Friday, Governor Gavin Newsom touting the number of people living on California's streets has dropped 9% within the last year. ABC7's data journalism team found that 9% figure is based on a mix of state agency numbers and the 2024 federal point-in-time counts. But 2025 federal data is not publicly released yet, meaning it could be an undercount.
In addition, the governor would authorize $1 billion in funding to fight homelessness.
If housing is indeed the problem, $1 billion could buy 16,000 brand new mobile homes.
Gavin Newsom, governor of California, just announced he's going to waste more taxpayer money on fighting homelessness. How many hundreds of millions to produce how many hundreds of units of housing? Let's get into it. The numbers are shocking. Here we go. And something that I would say, there he is, there's Gavin Newsom. Something I would say is that this article, yes, it's critical of Gavin Newsom and the amount of money he spent. But what it also reflects is just the costs in a state like California just to produce anything, any type of widget, are outrageously expensive. And so when you're talking about a unit of housing at $400,000, that includes development fees, it includes all of that stuff. All the regulation, the overregulation, hey, we got to have all this because it's housing for permanent supportive housing, right? You got to have the dirt for it. XYZ amount goes to the dirt, attributed. Somebody's got to donate the site or, city pays for it, buys it, whatever. All of that is accounted for. So the numbers, I don't believe, are that far off. There is just so much nonsense in the system inherently, especially in a state like California. Same thing here in the state of Washington. Gavin Newsom hasn't met a taxpayer he didn't want to fleece. Yeah, and he's good at it. He's good at it. Therefore, we should vote for him for president. I am seeing more and more that AOC is moving up in the polls. Oh, that could be stupendous. AOC, not as president, but as the candidate for the Democrats. Oh, bring it on. Oof. Billions of dollars, and 2 decades later, the high-speed rail Californians were promised isn't anywhere near completion. No, it's not even close. And the federal government has said, no, we're not giving you the $4 billion that we had earmarked. No, you guys are irresponsible at this. You're never going to get this project done. It's how many billions over budget? It's supposed to be 30 billion, something like that. Now it's 231 billion. Newsom has also promised to end homelessness, but that hasn't happened. What has actually happened? Yeah, it's gotten worse. What did I just podcast the other day? LA's homelessness, LA's unhoused homelessness, going to go up about 8%. Not good. Total homelessness, up about 3-something%. Build it and they will come. LA, yeah. And then you've got Karen Bass blaming the Trump administration. Well, the cuts. No, it's not the cuts. It's not the federal cuts. It's LA is known as a place where you want to be homeless because you get lots of stuff like this here. A lot of money to get the homeless off the streets. Sorry, what has happened is that Newsom has spent a lot of money to get the homeless off the streets. The only time he succeeded was when his commie overlords from China paid a visit. Well, same thing with the World Cup here in Seattle. Got to clean up for out-of-state relatives coming in. Got to make it look like things are all okay. And you can do that for a very short period. Extended, you can't because you don't have the budget for it. You also don't have the political will. Even that was temporary. Never fear, though, California taxpayers. Newsom is going to spend $110 million, $110 million to build 278 permanent supportive homes in Bakersfield, Contra Costa County, Fresno, and Sacramento. 278 supportive homes across 4 areas and $110 million. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. California has how many homeless total? I know LA has 50,000, 45,000, something like that. And 278 permanent supportive homes. That's what we're getting. That's an announcement. That's an announcement. Oh yeah, we're doing 200. That is a street block in Skid Row. Right? All right, you got one half of one street block cleaned up. Let's move on to the next one. Oh, but we just spent $110 million. Yeah, here's Gavin Newsom's his tweet. This is an actual tweet, and he is proud of this. It's astounding, right? If you start to follow these numbers and you're like, what is going? Oh yeah, just a bunch of tomfoolery. That's what you've got going on. I'm announcing $109.6 million in Proposition 1 funds to create 278. We heard about that. Just read about that. These projects will tangibly help move Californians off the street, provide stable housing, and expand behavioral health services. Not disagreeing, it'll help do that. But at what cost? That's $395,000 per home for those of you doing the math. Well, what does it take to create permanent supportive housing in San Francisco? Closer to like $700,000 in San Fran proper. Right? Seattle, same thing. I think is it 500, 600 grand per unit. That's why they pop up so many of those tiny homes, which are temporary, right? Not meant to be lived in forever, but they put a roof over people's heads because they can bring those in, and oftentimes the sites, rotate. Whole thing's just a mess because you don't need more housing. You need more people to get the actual help they need, but we're not doing that because housing first is the priority. So Spencer Pratt. Okay, Spencer Pratt. This is pretty good. 109 million, 278 homes, 400 per, 400 plus mobile homes for sale around Fresno from just 20,000, with the average home in Kings County at 105. With 109 million, you could house 4 times the people with 0 construction emissions, but you can't launder tax money, which is all this is. He's calling it out. He's saying, hey, and he's provided a bunch of receipts right here. Got all kinds of mobile homes. It's true. But to construct permanent supportive housing, $400,000 per. It's incredible. When I first started reading these numbers, just following the homeless thing, I'm like, what? How much? And then you got to think of it. Well, what would it cost to construct a normal single family 1 or 2 bedroom apartment unit in a normal, development? It's a ton. And that's because all of the costs are built in. From day one, you've already got XYZ in all kinds of reports and studies and mitigation and just absolute layer after layer of bureaucracy. Meanwhile, in Florida and Texas and Oklahoma, they just go. Like, all right, we're cutting this dirt up. Let's go, boys. And they do. They build it. There was a California builder out of, where was it? Maybe Santa Cruz? No, Santa Monica. California builder out of Santa Monica building extremely affordable housing in Oklahoma City, about 6 blocks away from where I stay in a hotel, in a Marriott hotel. And, the same unit of housing in California was, I can't remember, hundreds of thousands of dollars more per unit. It was astronomical. Same builder, different states. It's wild. It's wild. So I wouldn't say that this is necessarily laundering money, but it's spending tax money because things are so expensive in California. But he couldn't get his cut if he didn't do it this way, okay? Will the tens of millions of illegals you prioritize over Americans get first dibs Dems plan to end homelessness. We import 20 million broke homeless people. You know, we've had the study. We got the Federal Bank of Dallas did the study, and they said, you know, when you bring a whole bunch of people into the country, rents go up and housing goes up. Housing prices go up. That is not a shocker, is it? Not a shocker. His administration still hasn't turned over the contracts on that, talking about your wife's diaper fund. There's so many things going on here. The math doesn't math at $400K per home, but Gavin knows that people are so stupid, docile, and indoctrinated that he can confidently post something like this with no fear of public outrage at the ridiculous cost. You really need a fiscal crisis to fix this grift. Fiscal crisis won't do it. These are just the expenses it takes to build this stuff in California. This is the cost. That is what people should be outraged over. Gasoline at how much a gallon when it doesn't need to be there. Food prices when it doesn't need to be there. Housing costs because you've constricted the supply of housing so hard and you've made it so hard to build. Regulations, all kinds of nonsense. There's a reason government-run schools focus on activism and indoctrination rather than teaching math and reading. Kids who can't add 2 plus 2 will not care about how much of their income Newsom steals because they won't know. They won't know. People read this article and go, oh my God, $400,000 per unit. That's the outrage. That's what should be the outrage. Those are actual costs. And whether you believe a big percentage of that is grift to the politicians that put it together, okay, all right. Okay. But the costs, when you start analyzing the actual hard costs it takes to build a unit of supportive housing in California, you come up with numbers like what Newsom put together. It's just that expensive, and that is the outrage, because the grift has come along with all of that. That's where the grift has come. Justine Bateman, actress, says, Jesus, until the child can show what they did with the last wad of money their parents gave them for this purpose, they should not have access to another wad of money. Well, you can provide the receipts and go, all right, it's $400,000. There's 278 units, $400K per. Let's keep going. Let's keep building. Because these numbers are consistent. It's just they're outrageous. They're stupid. These projects will tangibly help move Californians off the street. Gotta love that. Newsom thinks our money belongs to him. Well, he gets to spend it, doesn't he? He gets to spend it. And he's got to look good. He's got to try some kind of angle on the homelessness thing because it's not going well. It has not gone well, and it not will go well moving down the road. It just won't. Because none of the stuff that they're proposing actually helps people move off the streets permanently. It just doesn't. And you've got how many thousands of people just roaming around throughout California that are homeless? Yeah, a third of the country's homeless problem, something like that. You combine California, Oregon, and Washington, and you've got the majority of homelessness. I mean, between those 3 states, there's such an overproportional number of homeless in those 3 states. And it's because they're run by Democrats who support all of these crazy things with taxpayers' money. Spend more.
So what we are doing is we're deploying these 1,200 plus units. You can see these units are not just, in every case, for one individual, multiple individuals in these units. We're hoping to get them constructed in a matter of months, not years. I wanted to say the summer. My staff said, press will attack us if we fall short. We're saying the fall.
Those still aren't built. You'll not be shocked to learn, article goes on to say, you'll not be shocked to learn not a single one of these tiny homes has been built. Just like the high-speed light rail from LA to San Francisco. Not a single layer of track has been built. Not one. Not one. So the article goes on to say, no, law-abiding citizens don't deserve housing. They have to work 2 jobs to pay for Newsom's tax schemes. Well, it's not just tax schemes. It's everything layered in there that ends up with a situation like this, where he's tweeting this out as if this is something you should be proud of. I mean, he's coming right out and putting a couple of paragraphs on the Twitter machine, right? He's proud of this. He thinks this is great. And when you look at the numbers, you're like, good Lord, what is wrong with California? And that's the problem, is that people in states like Washington and Oregon and California don't understand that same unit of housing is being built in other states for a fraction of the cost. And you might say, well, Sean, that's because you got land value. Yeah, but it's construction cost, it's permitting, it's oversight, it's all of the stuff that goes into the grift machine of a Democrat-run state. I need to use, the union whatever. Just, piled on. When you've got the highest gasoline prices, everything is expensive. And that's Washington State. That's California. Everything throughout that whole system gets elevated. And that's what we're looking at. So when Newsom comes out and says he actually believes that this is a win. This is a win. And there are other ways to do this. But when you're talking about housing isn't the solution for this at all. It's getting people the help that they need. Whether you treatment is housing. Jail is housing, unfortunately. Mental institution, housing. Those are solutions, but nobody wants to go down those roads at the scale that we need, because then you'd have to admit failure on the part of Housing First, and you'd have to back off from all of this money spending. And so much of this is money that needs to be spent to keep the homeless industrial complex going and moving along. Because if there actually was a solution to homelessness, then all this money would disappear from all the funding. Because there wouldn't be the homeless. It would be going off, money would be going off into, treatment. It'd be going off into mental institutions. And we're just not really doing that. So, let's keep the grift machine going, and let's build 278 more permanent supportive housing homes. Bakersfield, Contra Costa, Fresno, and Sacramento. No, not LA. No LA. No LA there at all. Yeah. These are inherently flawed programs. And everybody knows it. When you look at the numbers, and start to crunch what's going on, policy is an absolute failure, and the use of taxpayers' dollars is an absolute failure. But somebody keeps saying, Housing First works. The numbers are there. Okay? How about you look at some Republican states and how they handle homelessness? Yeah, you got 3 options. Jail, treatment, psych ward. Which one do you want? Because you can't live here. Yeah, that's how they handle it. Anyway, there's plenty more of this to come. I think Gavin Newsom is throwing out some programs so that when he does go on to campaign full-time, because his governorship ends, in December, I think? Yeah, he's going to go full tilt. He will go absolutely full tilt. But the numbers in the polls, you start looking at some of the numbers in the polls for the Democrat candidate, Kamala Harris is nowhere in there. You know who is? You know who's up tippy top? AOC. Oh, make that happen. Make that happen. Oh, what could be better? Anyway, thanks so much for joining. Love to have you subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.